In the 2 decades since the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea was founded on October 1st of 2001, the international community's attention has lurched from the axis of evil to North Korea's missile program, to its nuclear programs, to summitry, and more recently from Little Rocket Man and Fire and Fury such the world has never known, to the summitry in Singapore and Hanoi and on the DMZ. Throughout that time, one organization has remained laser focused in its commitment to the North Korean people and into promoting a broader understanding of human rights in North Korea to the international community through its world-class research and through its peer-reviewed efforts to make sure that we give voice to the people of North Korea who continue to suffer under the current regime. I have been honored to serve for nearly 15 years on the board of directors of the committee, and most recently for a number of years as co-chairman, along with the incomparable Katrina Lantos-Sweat. Unfortunately, I am not able to be in Washington, D.C., but as I am located in Perth, Western Australia, the farthest city on the planet on land away from Washington, D.C., I can attest that the reach, research, and programs of the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea span the globe. And I congratulate the committee on its 20-year anniversary and look forward to its continued advocacy and work on behalf of the North Korean people.
And I'm sending my heartiest congratulations on the 20th anniversary of the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea. I am so sorry I couldn't be with you in person. In fact, I was looking forward to being a mistress of ceremonies with Katrina, which would have been a lot of fun, but I'm not able to be there, so I wanted to send this message. Congratulations. It's been an amazing journey. I'm very proud to be one of the founding directors of Committee for Human Rights in North Korea and currently the co-vice chair. I remember back in the early 2000s when Dr. Freddie Clay, who was on our board of directors, and Carl Gershman started talking about this idea of this need to create an organization that could document and detail the horrific things that are happening in North Korea. And that creation of that organization has made all the difference in making sure that people understand the human rights tragedy that is North Korea. So I'm very proud and honored to be part of this organization and to work with such wonderful people. Greg and Rosa, you've done an amazing job in putting together this event tonight, and Katrina and Denise and the folks at the Tom Lantos Human Rights Foundation have been wonderful in helping us. Congratulations to everybody that's there that's supporting this wonderful organization. And again, I wish I could be with you, but God bless you, and let's keep up the fight until North Korea is free.
20th anniversary of NKHR. And I congratulate Greg Scarlatti and his team for their wonderful work over the past 20 years. I hope that they'll run out of work, but I don't think that's very likely. This is the report of the Commission of Inquiry, and it's no good producing United Nations reports that end up in the basement gathering dust and no action is taken to ensure that the recommendations are carried out. And that's why the work that Greg and his team have done is so important. The world promised after 1945 that it would never turn its back on the investigation and action on human rights abuses that rise to the level of crimes against humanity. Our report has found that there were crimes against humanity. That has still to be passed upon by the authoritative bodies of the United Nations in order to render accountable those who are responsible for these great crimes. And I thank NKHR for what they have done, and I wish them all the best in their future endeavours until there is human rights throughout the whole of the Korean Peninsula.
It has always been an honor for me to be associated with HRNK for many years as treasurer of the board and for 3 years as executive director. And I congratulate you on this 20th anniversary. I also congratulate you, Greg, for being at the helm now for 10 years. You've done an incredible job. HRNK has seen substantial growth. The organization is incredibly stable, and it's all due to your efforts. And the achievements that you've made at the UN are just astounding and completely unpredictable. I have the greatest respect for what you've accomplished. I want to recall some of the early board meetings at HRNK. As I recall, the first one was organizational, and I didn't attend that, but I did attend the second one. And I think that it was at the second board meeting that our mission actually started to become very clear in the way that we would distinguish ourselves from other organizations that were starting around those times to look at the question of North Korea and deciding different strategies for how they would approach it. The discussion at that board meeting focused on how incredibly effectively the North Korean regime had manipulated access to outsiders, forbidden photography and video making, and denied its own human rights abuses. High-level defectors seemed unaware of the system of gulags. Lower-level defectors sometimes seemed a little unbalanced and sometimes unbelievable. Prominent academics in major universities in the United States and in Europe actually doubted stories of human rights abuse in North Korea, but not our board. We grappled with questions of how to get the truth out of such a closed society. And I think that that was the beginning of HRNK as an organization that would investigate and publish findings. It took on these tasks of researching and writing, and that is one of the reasons that today the whole world knows what we do know about North Korea's human rights abuses. The importance in that development of HRNK Chairman Freddie Clay and the Smith-Richardson Foundation, which supported all of this research, is something that really cannot be overstated. As everyone knows, our first task was proving the existence of the camps, and we did that through David Hawk's Hidden Gulag report. Others will probably tell you tonight how that was accomplished, and I hope that David is there to describe it himself. But I have this wonderful image in my mind from those days of David Hawk hauling around Seoul, South Korea, huge rolls of paper, photographic paper. I think they were 17 feet long. And that's what you could get in those days, in the days prior to Google Earth and the apps that we now all carry in our pockets. He carried these long rolls, would roll them out on the floor of gymnasiums and churches and other places, and ask defectors to try to identify things that they could see in the overhead pictures of the camps that they attended. That was the beginning of this, and it was done with rudimentary technology at a time when it was really pretty amazing. And that was just the beginning of what HRNK started to do. In reports after that, there were film crews acting in secret that had to smuggle cameras in and out. Interviews had to be conducted with women who fled North Korea through China, and they had to be conducted in Korea, in the Korean language. And so by people who are not directly associated with HRNK, but whom HRNK supported. Interviews with families of the missing and extensive research had to be conducted to learn the fate of abductees who disappeared from the streets of Japan and other countries. Financial records. People sometimes forget how much HRNK did to uncover the story of North Korea's illicit wealth. But it was newsmaking. It was thought-provoking. Many people thought that North Korea was an incredibly poor country. incredible opportunities like the acquisition that we once had of a handbook for implementation by the police services of a system that the regime claimed it did not, that the regime claimed did not exist, in fact, called Songbun. That was an incredible opportunity that we made very good use of in Bob Collins' report on Songbun. Even at the beginning, the HRNK board was an amazing group of people who supported extraordinary research and very courageous reports. And lest we forget, I want to use this opportunity to mention the names of a few who passed since the beginning: Jae-Hoon Ahn, Freddie Clay, James Lilly, Philip Merrill, and Stephen Solars. They all provided unbelievable support for these efforts, and they would all be proud of what HRNK has accomplished. You know, when you talk about HRNK's mission, quite often people say, why did you pick such a task, and how can you possibly expect to accomplish that? The point is, we don't know if we can, but we have to try. And as Greg and others have shown us, progress can be made. Maybe it's not fast enough. Maybe it doesn't help the people we'd like most to reach immediately. But over time, our efforts will always be appreciated. Good luck to HRNK as it builds on these 20 years of incredible and undeniable success. Thank you.
Greetings. I regret I cannot be with you. For me, the Delta variant has prevailed over Delta Airlines, and I'm grounded here in New York. This event not only honors an anniversary, it underlines one superlative and celebrates another. Simply put, DPRK stands for the world's worst human rights landscape. HRNK stands for America's leading organization doing something about that. This issue and this cause deserves your generous support. Foreign policy NGOs have two basic missions. First, generate information and analysis. And on this issue, no other American group has produced the quantity and quality of books, reports, and meetings. Second, have an impact on the national debate and policies. No other American group has been cited in more national media, UN documents, and State Department reports. And just look at how HRNK does this. Look at the ratio of resources to relevance. I have led and been on the boards of several distinguished NGOs concerned with international affairs. I have never seen one with more proverbial bang for the buck. This is due to Greg's inspiring and indefatigable leadership, the passionate labors of his tiny staff and interns, and the dedicated backing of the board and friends. So let us honor the organization and its leader. Let us express deep gratitude to his team, and let us all strive to expand their financial and human foundations. Thank you, and have a great evening.
Good evening. It's an honor for me to provide a statement in support of the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea and to serve on the board with such distinguished colleagues. While we have many different and diverse perspectives on national security, we are united in our passion for bringing fundamental change to the horrific conditions that have existed for far too long in what is the world's last truly totalitarian country. A country ruled by a regime of unspeakable brutality against its own people, the first and foremost victims of the criminal enterprise that is the Kim dynasty. Tonight, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of HRNK and of the great work and accomplishments of the committee. more than any other organization, or for that matter, any government. The HRNK has exposed the crimes against humanity that continue to define the situation in North Korea. Bringing light where there is only darkness is a precondition for change. Bringing knowledge and hope to the people of North Korea is both a noble cause and a moral imperative. Like others, I want to express my personal gratitude to Greg, Rosa, and the entire team, past and present, for their tireless efforts in pursuit of our shared goal. Greg's leadership has been effective beyond expectation. It has been disciplined, insightful, and determined. And for me, it has been inspirational, and I'm sure that is the case for the other board members. So congratulations to all of you in attendance this evening. You have made and continue to make a huge difference in advancing the cause of human rights. Tonight, enjoy the gala and celebrate your many achievements. Tomorrow, our work continues. Thank you very much and have a great evening.
Hello to all of you. It's an honor to see you here and talk to you. I think it's important to understand that human rights denial in North Korea is dominated by the party and not by the state. North Koreans grow up learning about the party and ideology and never study the Constitution whatsoever, even though the DPRK Constitution talks about human rights. It is just a front document, as is the state, north to deal with the rest of the world. But human rights is shaped by ideology and Korean Workers' Party taskings that are demanded of every North Korean. They do this for the benefit of the Kim regime. They do this through ideology, through social classification, through lifestyle self-critique, and through professional assignment, housing assignment, and whatever that the party determines what you get. It is very important to understand that ideology comes first in North Korea, and Juche, of course, is about the national ideology, but it's about mass production and the accomplishing national goals. What impacts the North Koreans more directly is the 10 principles of monolithic ideology, which forces the North Korean to commit to the supreme leader and the party. And that's a very important concept for them. And there's no room in North Korea ideology for individual human rights. It just doesn't exist. So the point would be that the state has no say-so. Their documents are designed for the outside world, or the inside world is the North Korean, the Korean Workers' Party charter, the monolithic ideology, and this is what dominates the life of every North Korean. So I would like to say that best of luck to HRNK for challenges ahead, and wish you all the best.
Hello, I'm Senator Ed Markey from Massachusetts, Chairman of the Senate Subcommittee on East Asia, and it's a pleasure to join you virtually to commemorate 2 decades since the founding of the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea. Much has changed on the peninsula over the last 2 decades, but unchanged is the commitment of the people to give voice to the people of North Korea. And as we gather today, there are an estimated 120,000 North Koreans that are locked away in camps under the constant surveillance of their captors. First-hand survivor accounts speak to the atrocities committed in these re-education camps. Those lucky enough to not be imprisoned are still not free by any standard. 3 generations of Kim rulers have flouted their international human rights responsibilities, rewarding absolute loyalty and punishing even a whiff of dissent. Every dollar that Kim Jong-un spends on his country's illicit nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles program is one fewer available to provide for the welfare of his people. The United States can champion the rights of North Koreans in a few key ways. First, President Biden can name a North Korean human rights envoy to ensure these issues get a loud hearing in multilateral arenas. We can redouble our efforts to remove bureaucratic roadblocks that limit humanitarian assistance from reaching one of the planet's most vulnerable populations. And finally, we should push for not just the absence of war with North Korea, but peace through a formal end of the Korean War. We need diplomacy, not fire and fury. A war would have a catastrophic humanitarian impact on both sides and harm the very people we intend to help. To close, securing a free, peaceful, and prosperous future for North Korea's 25 million people is no easy feat. But to paraphrase President John F. Kennedy, we do these things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. We can't wait to see what is in store for you next. Thank you all for everything that you do.
Good evening. Although I wish to be with you in person, I'm honored to join you virtually in celebrating 20 years of meaningful work by the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea. As former U.S. Ambassador to Japan, I'm no stranger to the unspeakable human rights issues prevalent in North Korea. Living just across the Japan Sea and being interwoven in the matters of the Indo-Pacific region for several years, I've seen firsthand the evil actions wrongly committed against innocent men, women, and children living under tyranny in North Korea, as well as those abducted from Japan by the North Korean regime. While serving as ambassador, I met with Seong-Ho, a North Korean defector who fled the totalitarian regime in search of freedom and democracy. His story was so inspiring, a story filled with that human desire to live with dignity and purpose. President Donald Trump understood that Seong-Ho represented the love of freedom that we sometimes take for granted in the United States, and he invited Seong-Ho to the State of the Union address as a symbol for freedom, perseverance, and love for democracy that the United States strives for throughout the world. My son William was so moved by Seong-Ho's story that he invited G to visit Tennessee and tell his moving personal story in an hour-long fireside chat at Williams High School in Tennessee. As a beacon of freedom for the world, America has fought on behalf of the vulnerable, the oppressed, and the detained, and we've leveraged resources to investigate, research, and report on these issues, a job this committee has nobly worked on to advance for 2 decades. So congratulations on 20 years as America's most trusted source of knowledge and analysis on these crucial issues. Your research has undoubtedly made a transformative impact, and I wish you the best as you continue using your voices to open eyes to injustice and to spur action among those you reach. May God bless.
HRNK 북한인권위원회 20주년 행사를 진심으로 축하드립니다. 함께하지 못해서 너무 아쉽습니다. 안녕하십니까? 저는 북한인권 활동가이자 대한민국 국회의원 지성호입니다. 북한인권위원회와 저는 정말 많은 일을 하였습니다. 그리고 북한인권위원회의 그 활동은 정말 지대한 공헌을 했다고 생각합니다. 유엔에서 또 미 백악관에서, 미 국무부에서, 미 의회에서 전 세계를 향해서 그들이 했던 연구자료와 그리고 했던 그 캠페인들은 역사에 길이 남을 것이고, 북한에 자유가 깃들었을 때 북한 주민들이 정말 누가 우리 편이었는가를, 누가 죽어가는 우리들의 삶을 위해서 노력했는가를 보게 되는 산 증인이 될 것이라고 생각하고, 10년 뒤, 20년 뒤 정말 그날이 오기를 간절히 바라면서 함께 활동하고 있습니다. 그런 날이 간절히 오기를 바라고 있습니다. 지금 현재 북한을 보면 심각한 현실에 있습니다. 최근에 동해안을 통해서 탈북한 친구의 이야기를 들었습니다. 그 이야기는 충격적이었는데, 대한민국으로 가면 국군이 잡아서 북한으로 북송시킨다. 대한민국 정부도 그들을 북한으로 북송시키니 너희들이 갈 수 있는 곳이 없다는 그 여론을 북한 보위부가 만들고 있고, 무서워서 숨어 있다가 국군에게 인도되었다는 것입니다. 북한 주민들의 인권을 무시한 채 만들어간 평화는 북한 주민들이 죽어도 된다는, 우리가 평화롭게 살기 위해서는 2,500만 원 죽어도 된다는 그 논리하고 똑같은 것입니다. 바뀌어야 된다고 생각하고, 전 세계가 함께 북한 주민들의 인권을 위해서 목소리를 내야 된다고 생각합니다. 그것이 북한의 자유를 만드는 길이고, 북한 주민들의 알 권리를 해결해 주는 길이고, 그것이 결과적으로 우리 인류의 평화라고 저는 생각합니다. 함께 해주시고 계속돼서 동지가 되어주시기를 부탁드립니다. 북한인권위원회 화이팅입니다. HRNK 항상 힘내주십시오. 감사합니다.
Hello, my name is Yong-Ho, and I am a National Assemblyman of Korea. I would like to extend my warm congratulations to the 20th anniversary of the founding of HRNK. The issue of North Korean human rights was not anybody's concern when HRNK was founded in the early of 2000. So far, HRNK has been very active to disclose the main structural issues of North Korean human rights violations and improve human rights in North Korea. The international campaign for North Korean human rights cannot be thinkable without the contributions from HRNK in terms of its influence and profession. Expecting more contributions from HRNK, who plays the role of lighthouse for North Korean people, I congratulate once again the 20th anniversary of HRNK. Thank you.
I would like to join the celebration of the anniversary of the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea and pay my respects and recognition for one of the leading civil society organizations working on the North Korean human rights agenda that has always a strong, solid, and well-founded voice which influences policies and strategies both at the national and international level with regards to how to improve the dramatic living conditions of North Koreans. As the current UN Special Rapporteur, I can tell about their genuine commitment towards the human rights cause and about their professionalism, their integrity, and their respectful treatment to counterparts. I'm sure that the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea will continue with its remarkable and productive work until all and each human rights of North Koreans are respected and guaranteed. On this, we join hands. I congratulate you once again, and I'm sure you will enjoy your gala. Goodbye.